1, go!
Hello everyone, welcome back to Crown My Run and welcome to what was a very last minute sign up for the Hellingly 10k. And with it being a rather hilly course, 20 metres all the way up to 80 metres, I have enlisted the help of the Garmin Pace Pro feature to help and guide me through this race. And you can see here that I have asked it to set the kilometres up to run quite easy on the hills and to do a little bit of a negative split to overall average 3:45 per kilometre, which would put me very close to my 37:33 PB. This is what I will see on my watch. The top line shows the split target time. This is in miles, mine will be in kilometres. The second line shows what you're actually running at during this split, and then it shows you how long you've got left of the split here, 0.25 miles, and then at the bottom, overall ahead or behind. So here they are 37 seconds ahead of the overall target time. These are the splits it's come up with, going through halfway in 19 minutes and 40 seconds, so I'm going to need a big negative split as I have asked for, and I will need to go to the pain cave to achieve this very ambitious target. Let's go see how we get on. We are underway and all I've got to do is follow these target splits. First kilometre a 3:59 and a 37:30 PB will be mine. And look at me at the start here, getting very punchy. There goes Ollie, Peacehaven Run Club winner last year, and there goes channel favourite Ant. It would be lovely to stay with these two one day, but today's not going to be that day. We're going along at the start, a little surge to 3:10 a kilometre just to get out the gate, as we've been fed up recently of being held up at the start by people. I put myself right to the front to give myself the best opportunity to get a good time, but now we're just going to settle into that goal pace just below 4 minute flat, 3:59 target in what is a mostly flat first 2 kilometres before the real inclines begin. However, to me, most of this opening kilometre or two felt downhill. I felt really strong. Looking back at the data, actually most of it was gently uphill. I could see my average pace at the moment was around 3:35 per kilometre, gradually coming more towards 3:40, and quite a few people were coming through at the moment, but I was way ahead of that 3:59 target pace, but it was feeling comfortable, so I didn't want to just dramatically slow down. I backed off to what I sort of felt half marathon effort would be. But thankfully, on this day in history, that was a lot quicker than I've ever gone at the start of a 10k before. Every single 10k I have done, apart from one, like 2 years ago, the start of a 10k always feels just too quick for me. I'm going along at like 3:45 per kilometre, Brighton 10k the last 2 years, and I'm like, why does this feel quicker than my recent 5k PB when I'm going at 3:30? But today, thankfully, look, 3:35 per kilometre at the top left of the screen, and it felt super comfortable. I wasn't looking at my heart rate at all, going purely off effort, and it felt super comfortable at the moment, which it needs to with some bastard child hills to come. And here you can see me now, and I'm sort of in the third pack. The lead group's miles ahead, second pack's eased away from me, and I'm sort of just at the head of a third pack that's just behind me at the moment. And I actually went through that first kilometre in a very naughty 3 minutes and 37 seconds, which means I have pocketed myself 22 seconds, which did seem a little bit too good to be true, and I was still falling backwards now. We were gradually going downhill at the moment, which you can see in the second kilometre Pace Pro goal has sped up to a 3:54 now. But at the top of the screen, I'm going at 3:35 per kilometre still. Everything is currently pointing towards a monumental blow-up. This could get very messy, but as I said, I wasn't looking at my heart rate. I was going off feel, and I felt pretty comfortable. And that does reflect in what my heart rate was showing, 164, 10 or so beats off my threshold. The hills are getting closer, though, as a vegan runner has decided he's had enough of my pacing for today. And as we turn left at this roundabout, this is where the hills really begin. And as I see the hill approaching, I make the quick split-second decision to get past those two and move on behind Vegan Runner to see if I can sort of be paced off him up the hill. The fun begins. A solid 3% gradient here, nothing absolutely horrific, and I was feeling good. So I just moved on through. What on earth is happening? I've gone miles quicker than I was meant to in the first 2K, and I'm still feeling good, making overtakes up hills. What is going on? And I'm quickly speeding up behind the next runner, who I believe is Richard Impey, who I'm not expecting to be anywhere near, as his 10K PB I think is 35, 34 maybe, but I'm here, and I've gone through 2K in 3 minutes and 45 seconds, despite the hill towards the end, gaining myself a further 9 seconds. And I've got over half a minute in my pocket at 2K, sniffing around the 36s. Who do I think I am? But this third kilometre will be the big one. You can see us going up a pretty steep gradient now, 3 or 4%, and the target time, I've still got to try and do a 4:06 up here. I'm grateful I'm amongst some strong runners I know. Richard just ahead, and that's Stuart Mills just ahead of them. Not part of our Mills family, but a local Mills legend of running anyway. Winner of the Beachy Head Marathon, I believe, but I'm just shooting on past him, and I'm shooting on past Richard. No! Richard looks and goes, J Mills, what are you doing up here? Stay behind me for now, lad. And I oblige, and the really steep incline, thankfully, does come to an end briefly, but there is plenty more to come. We skip forward now to the end of the third kilometre, and we're in a bit of a slog uphill. I'm still clinging on for dear life to Richard. I'm having a look who's behind me, and who is this? It's Tommy coming through now. All the big crown names are here today. Tommy loves getting the better of me, but I'm going to do my best to stick with him today. Let's just have a look at that third kilometre splits as we come briefly downhill before we're going to have to go up even further again. But look at this. I've managed a 4 minute and 3 seconds up 30 metres, beating the target by 3 seconds, and now I'm 34 seconds ahead. Now, I'm not one to get carried away, but this could be the greatest run in the history of running. But what is Garmin asking of me in this fourth kilometre? A 3:51. That's a little bit spicy, but this kilometre is... Like and subscribe, as Matt says, please. But back to the action. We need a 3:51. This is a very up and down kilometre, which is 5 metres net uphill. At the moment, looking fairly flat, which is nice, and we're going along at 3:40 per kilometre, trying to cling on to Tommy, with Richard just to my left at the moment. 3.6k in a 3% gradient uphill section, and Tommy is beginning to edge away from us. But I was just remaining calm, running within myself as much as you can when you're up a reasonable hill. Only 2.5k or so to go of the mainly uphill sections before we can enjoy, finally, mostly downhill running. But I've not seen an awful lot of time in the threes in this fourth kilometre. And of course, my target's a 3:51, so I may be about to lose some time in a kilometre for the first time. But I might be able to claw a little bit of that time back in the final 200 metres of this fourth kilometre as we start to gently ease downhill. And now you can see approaching that yellow fourth kilometre sign as a vegan runner has come past me, but Tommy hasn't got any further away, which is nice. And I had lost a bit of time in that fourth kilometre for the first time, but only 2 seconds in the end, a 3 minutes and 53 seconds, so still over 30 seconds to play with at 4k. But the fifth kilometre now is an interesting one. It is the biggest gradient up by quite some way. We get up to 5, 6, 7% gradient at times, all the way up to 80 metres over the first 500 metres, and then a fairly sharp gradient down afterwards, overall 10 metres up. But it wants a 3:51 from me. That is going to be very hard. As you can see, we're in that 5% gradient now. You can hear I'm working very hard, but a long way away from 3:51 per kilometre. Pace Pro obviously has to just average out the whole kilometre. It doesn't really take into account how sharp an incline might be within that kilometre. There could be quite a lot lost in this fifth kilometre, I feel. And you can always tell it's beginning to get hard when you have a little look to your right. Heart rate up to 178, but only 6 metres to go until we are at the top of the highest point of this whole route. and Tommy is still within my reach. I remember at the Eastbourne Half Marathon, when he got past me towards the end of the race, he put 20-30 seconds on me in less than a kilometre. So I'm really grinding it out today, trying to keep him in my sights. We have reached the top, we turn left, and there's a very sharp downhill now where we're going to have to make up some time. We've made it. What a joyful sign down the hill. But it's one of those where it's so downhill that it's quite tricky to run down, absolutely smashing your quads up. The camera also going a little bit wild down here. Minus 7% gradient, 8% gradient there. But I'm managing to run well, at least time-wise, catching up to Vegan Runner down to 3:05 per kilometre to try and get some time back. Skipping forward to 4.7 kilometres now. Vegan Runner has put a few metres on me again. My heart rate has thankfully sat back down to 174, 175 from the dizzy heights of 180 a few hundred metres ago. But we are back in a slight uphill section. Will it ever end? Oh, come on, it's still going up. On my watch, I could see just before that little bastard of a hill that I had managed to get back down to around 3:57 average, but then I lost a big old chunk up that hill. You can see the 5k sign up there, and we go through that in about 19 minutes and 20 seconds, with that 5k being a tough 4 minutes and 5 seconds, so 14 seconds in the wrong direction. But still 18 seconds ahead of a PB with only one more massively undulating kilometre in this 6k. But it does want a 3:45 from me with some pretty reasonable hills. But once we do complete this kilometre, it is mostly downhill. So if we can stay in the positive, there's every chance we can get this PB today. And look, I have caught up to Tommy. Vegan Runner has moved further ahead. And there's a couple of other runners, a blue and a red top, that appear to be getting a little bit closer to us, as we're currently in another bit of a slog uphill up to 74 metres. 77 metres, again looking round. Getting tough. 3:45 target. Very, very ambitious. I know I'm doing all right, just based on the fact that Tommy hasn't got further away from me. But we're going to lose a big chunk here, I feel. Come on, downhills. Please come save me. Cresting the top of another hill, and there is a downhill section, but this isn't the final downhill section before another uphill. Still at least one more to go. But at least our heart rate can hopefully settle a little bit. If you can just about make out the noise then, the little ding-a-ling-a-ling, that is my Garmin screaming at me to go quicker. And you can see there, it wants those 3:45s. I'm averaging 3:59, hemorrhaging time. Just doing everything I can to get to the top of this ascent with as little time lost as possible. And there is that 6th kilometre, a 3:55. So another 10 seconds lost. But now we are in pretty much predominantly downhill sections now. 8 seconds ahead of our PB. But look at the target, which reflects that. This next kilometre, 20 metres downhill, it wants a 3 minutes and 31 seconds from us. Have we left enough in the tank to really attack down here? Still tracking Tommy, who is moving on the shoulder of a Hastings runner. And it's still not completely downhill, for God's sake. We're going uphill again, not massively, but still 2% gradient's not what I need when I'm trying to run a 3:31. It should start going downhill pretty steeply in about 200 metres time. Please? Please? Yes, here we go. You can visually see the downhill section of Dreams is here. Let's go. I'm not going to say make up some time. Let's go try and hold some time and get a 3:31, because that's still pretty bloody quick, even downhill. And halfway through, I'm feeling good. 6.5 kilometres, 3:20 per kilometre. On that live timing, I'm right behind Tommy and the Hastings runner. And the most pleasing part is that my heart rate's at 172, which I didn't know, but I did know I sort of felt all right. We skipped forward a few hundred metres. I've moved on past the Hastings runner, and I'm just tracking Tommy's every move. We've got a nice target still of red and blue top ahead of us, maybe 10 or 15 seconds, and we will be into the 8th kilometre very soon. Through 7k we go, and a 3:37 is sort of alright, but 6 seconds lost. That uphill section for the first 200 metres just costing us a bit of time. But into the final third of this race, 7k, we are still 2 seconds ahead of a 37:30. But it's asking for another 3:31 from me. And look, we're fucking going uphill again. Fuck right off. It didn't last too long though, as we're now coming downhill towards the end of this 8th kilometre. Not completely on the shoulder of Tommy at the moment though, and it does show that I was beginning to find it tough work. Despite coming downhill now, my pace couldn't really get much quicker than 3:40s. I think I just had one eye on like the final kilometre or so, wanting to really be able to send it. And in my heart of hearts, I didn't really think I'd be anywhere near actually being able to do a PB on this course today. But here I am, so close to it. But I've really got to push harder down this hill, and I'm just not. I'm sort of just holding off a little bit. 350 per kilometre is not good enough. I've got to push harder. And despite being 15 metres downhill, I've only mustered up a 3:49, 18 seconds lost in the blink of an eye. And we're in the red for the first time, 16 seconds behind that 37:30. Are we in blow-up city? Thankfully, this 9th kilometre only wants a 3:45 from us, as there is a pretty reasonable hill coming in the second half of this kilometre. And I'm not really sure if I should be thankful for that, as yes, the target time's easier, but another bloody hill coming. Grit your teeth, J Mills. Let's at least try and stay in those 37s, which, to be honest, I would have taken every day of the week before. I was speaking to some people before, and I was, to be honest, wasn't sure if I could break into the 38s today with all these hills. I'm usually bloody awful at them, but a lot of training has happened in the last 5-6 weeks to rectify these issues of being blown past on hills, but perhaps some downhill running drills might be needed. Anyway, we're coming downhill now to 30 metres above sea level, and we're about to turn left onto some pavement. I didn't know it, but a really challenging uphill section was coming as we head into the final mile of the race. And here it is. We turn left. We are ushered onto the pavement by the marshal. I just about say thank you, deeply out of breath, and now can I try and stick with Tommy up here? No, 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 he's getting away. I've tried so hard to stick with him, and this one final twat of a hill has really thrown a spanner in the works. What a dickhead of a hill. Almost at the end of this 9th kilometre. The final K is meant to be all downhill, but I'm not going to count my chickens. I'm sure there'll be another final knobhead of a hill just to piss me off. But I'm pushing so damn hard to try and not lose too much time. 3:45 target pace is needed in this kilometre. I've just been going up that hill at well into the 4s, down to 4 flat now. My heart rate into the mid 180s. 187 now, 188, at least back into the 355s, at least 189 heart rate. This is pretty much my maximum heart rate. 192 heart rate. I've given it absolutely everything to make sure Tommy's just about within my sights. But with a kilometre to go, am I going to be able to muster up a kick at the end? Okay. 9th kilometre, a 3:45, and I've actually chatted a load of shit. The target in the 9th kilometre was actually a 3:32. So I've lost 13 seconds, and I'm now 29 seconds behind, scraping in to the 37s if I can do a 3:30 final kilometre, which seems pretty unlikely with Tommy getting further and further away from me. Okay. Overall, this kilometre is 5 metres net downhill, which is in my favour, yes, but that's exactly the same as the previous kilometre, which I only managed a 3:45. But of course, I will give it everything. Into the cricket club we come. You can see the finish over there on the right, but we've still got 700 metres to run, so we've got to go all the way round the park. 3:35, 3:30 a kilometre. Tommy has made it up to Blue Top. I'm hurting so bad, but I'm still pushing to get quicker. 3:20 per kilometre. 600 metres seems an awful long way to go, but I've tried so hard to stick with him for so long. I can't give up now. There's a very welcome, pretty reasonable incline, so I start my assault early. I've got too much to make up to leave it late. I'm giving it absolutely everything down here. 3:10 per kilometre. I'm catching Blue Top, but I'm not sure I'm catching Tommy. He's moving just as quickly or quicker than me still. Okay. Round the corner, 400 metres to go. Watches again, screaming at me, telling me I'm a massive useless prick. But Blue Top is getting closer and closer. I'm barreling towards him, giving absolutely everything. Oh, but what on earth is this? It's another sodding uphill section. Pretty steep one as well. 3%, 4% gradient. I don't give a shit though. I'm through past Blue Top. Tommy, I want your booty. D-Mills, Defcovs galore cannot stop me. I'm coming. Will it be too late? A short, sharp hill from sort of 22, 23 metres all the way up to 30 metres at the top. We're also catching someone with a red top up there as we emerge back on the grass and hopefully what is flat ground till the end. 200 metres till home. I've got a long way to go. The finish line is there. Come on, J-Mills, pick that speed up. We're not going to break our PB as we hit 37 minutes and 32 seconds. We round the final corner. We're ramping it up. Tommy has a little look. He starts his sprint for home. 3:15 per kilometre, 3:10 per kilometre. Am I going to get in the twos? Not quite. Tommy's got a great kick on him as well. I've given it absolutely everything. Again, up to 188 heart rate as we come across the line in 37 minutes, 52 seconds. Well done to Tommy. I'm absolutely bloody spent.
Sounds like a man that tried.
Yeah. Indeed, I tried so bloody hard. Let's have a look at the official results. P14, 37.52, 3 seconds behind Tommy in the end. In a race that I'm actually very, very proud of. I'm only 20 seconds off my PB on a course that had 120 metres of uphill sections, which hopefully means I've now got the fitness and the uphill stamina to really take on Hastings Half Marathon next weekend when I will be racing directly against D-Mills. Will also be there trying to break 90 minutes for the first time. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week.